Hello, welcome to Sonic Lab special. We've had a visit from the guys from Arturia who've brought down, this is Brian from Arturia. We've also got one of the engineers, Jerome, who's going to tell us a bit more about the specs. AudioFuse, finally here. Kind of a bit weird doing a video about an audio interface, but there's a lot of stuff inside this. But first question, what took you so long?
Yes, Nick. Well, firstly, thanks for having us here. It's finally arrived. It's been a long time in the making. The reason for that is that the product had been ready for about a year, a little bit more than a year. We decided, though, to hold it back to make a better interface. It was good, but because it's the first interface from Arturia, we didn't want to deliver something that was just okay. We decided to invest more in the product, invest more in the team of engineers to create the best possible product that we can. We've now reached that stage. AudioFuse is now available to buy.
So it's here. I mean, one of the things about it, obviously, we'll go into maybe the technical spec with Jerome, but I mean, it's crammed with connectors.
It certainly is. I mean, that's one of the key points of AudioFuse is that it's a relatively small box, but it's got a lot of connectivity at the back. I mean, you would see that there's not really much free space going on there because of all the possible connections that we've decided, we try to put them all in there and more. So yes, there is a lot of connectivity on that, and that's one of the reasons that it took a little bit longer for us to
so
produce.
I can imagine cramming it. I also noticed, and I didn't know this, but it's available in different colours. We've got the colours behind there on the screen.
Yes.
So this one's the black one with black and tan.
Yes, so it comes in 3 colours just to give people the choice of which one is their favourite. At Arturia, we always joke because each of us has got a different favourite. So this one here is the deep black unit. This one is the space grey, and it also comes in a classic silver as well.
Which one sounds better though?
They all sound exactly the same, but for some people who use it for a lifestyle situation, they're convinced that some sound better than the others.
Of course they do. So maybe you could just take us through, right, first of all, it's a USB audio interface, right?
It is.
Multi-connectivity audio interface.
Yes.
24-bit 96K capable, or does it go higher than that?
It goes higher than that, up to 192,
right.
24192. So yes, it is a USB 2 audio interface. We tested the other protocols. We tried it with USB 3 as well. We decided to stay with USB 2 because the performance we were getting from it was outperforming what we got from USB 3. So USB 2 for us still is very much the standard, and it gives us the performance that we need from it.
And is it class compliant then? Do you need drivers?
It is class compliant. So we decided to go the class compliant route instead of a proprietary driver for a few reasons. So this will work with PC, Mac, Linux, iOS, and Android because it's class compliant.
Right, presumably, I mean, I don't think an iOS device could power it, so you could power it in a number of ways.
You would need the camera connection kit to use it with the iOS device.
And also, it would have to get its mains from, because it's an external mains power as well.
That's right.
Power, right, okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, maybe what you could do is just take us through the connections and we can have a look at that.
Yeah, sure. So if you're looking at the front, we've got the mic and line inputs there. We've got the 2 of them.
So there are now combi connectors on there,
These are the combi connectors on these. And then you've also got the headphone connection. So it's 2 independent headphone outputs, each with its own volume control. You've got the 1/4-inch jack and mini jack per channel. So if you're someone like me who always loses those pesky little adapters, it doesn't matter. You can just plug it straight in there. Small little touch, but really useful.
Yeah, I mean, I've had one here for a little while, and there are lots of small little touches in there which kind of go to make the sum of the whole. So that's the that's the front.
That's the front, yeah. So if we look at the back of the unit as such, so we've got MIDI in and MIDI out on the small connectors, and that's via a breakout cable.
It's like you got on the BeatStep Pro. Basically.
Like we've got on that, and simply there's just not enough space on here to have the standard 5-pin DINs on there. And also to keep it neat, everything is flush on the back of the unit there. There's nothing protruding. We've got SPDIF word clock, we've got ADAT, we've got extra 3/4 analog over there. We've got speaker A and speaker B. So there's a switch on the top here. When you're monitoring, just flick the switch. Also in the software, if you've got rather large loudspeakers on speaker B, you can set the attenuation in the software so you don't suddenly go from a nice gentle level to something really loud. You can set that and save that setting. You've got insert points over there. You've got phonos, which is for the vinyl guys who want to sample their funky drummer beats.
So you've got RIAA preamps in there?
We do, yes. They've got their own preamps. in that as well. And then you've got a 3-port USB hub, which is really useful if you're looking to use the old Steinberg dongle or your iLock. External USB hard drives, USB mouse, whatever, you can connect it on there.
Right.
So
well, these days you don't get an awful lot on, certainly on the Apple products, you don't get an awful lot of USB.
No, you don't.
ports.
You don't.
Well, none, actually.
I'm one of those people with my various controllers, controller keyboards, and things like BeatStep Pro, the Steinberg dongle. You just need space to connect them all. And
Right.
fortunately,
So
you can
I mean,
do
if
that.
you've got a power going into it, if you're using the external power supply, then obviously that will be a powered hub.
Exactly.
So that right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it'll be a power hub. So as far as connectivity is concerned, there's a lot of features there. But also there's a few other hidden features that you can do with this. Things like reamping you can do through this, which Jerome, our engineer, will go into a bit more.
And you've got an
later on.
ADAT I/O as well.
We've got ADAT in and out on there. Again, it's a relatively small unit. It does give you plenty of analog ins and outs, digital in and out, but with the ADAT, if you want to expand it to an 8-channel mic pre to record a drum kit, for example, you can do that expanding via ADAT. So for a small, neat little box, we've crammed a lot in there.
So obviously a lot of stuff on the top of the Surface as well, and we're running some audio in the background. Again, you know, It sort of felt a bit pointless kind of going, look how great it sounds, because obviously by the time YouTube's got a hold of it, it's not going to, this is sort of illustrative really. So we've got metering and an LED ring around the actual volume control, and that's a multi-function control, right?
Yeah, it is, yes. It's a multi-function control. As you said, there are a lot of buttons on the top here. Now, the whole concept we've gone for here is sort of one function, one button. There's no menu diving. That's very important for particularly the recording engineer. If you want to do something, you push a button and it's done. So all the way through, it's kind of like an old analog console, the way it's been lined out. So you've got your 2 channels, input 1 and input 2. So each has got its own control section over here. Things like a mono switch on the master output. If you're monitoring in stereo and you want to monitor in mono, you click a button.
Right,
and
okay.
it's now
so
in
it's
mono.
like master section functions.
And it lights up as well. You've got different cues as well. So in the software, which we'll look at later, you can set up different cues for what you want to come through the headphone outputs, what you want to go through master. Obviously, you can have something different going to headphone 1 than headphone 2. So if you've got an acoustic guitarist and a vocalist, and you want to say something through TalkBack, it's got its built-in TalkBack mic as well, and you can say, guitar player, give a little more energy in that part, but you don't want to interrupt the vocalist. So you can have your different cues set up that way as well. With the headphones, you can monitor both headphone channels in monitor if you want to do so. And then you've got your phantom power phase invert pad and instrument over there. So when you plug your cable in, it'll pick up which it is. Switch on phantom power and you're ready to record.
And this sets the input gain for the 2 front panel inputs, right?
That's right, yeah. That's the input gain for channel 1 and for channel 2.
Okay. And so this metering and level control, does it sort of show you how, does this change colour depending on what you're doing? I mean,
yeah, it does. So when you turn it, it goes to blue to show that there is something happening and it's picking that up. And then obviously as you adjust it accordingly.
All right, so it shows you the amount of volume you're sending out. So
That's right,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, and then towards the top you get the...
And these are meters as well down here, these little LED
Those are meters, yeah.
Right,
so
okay,
that's to show you the input levels, just to make sure that you're not going in the red.
Okay, great. And this direct and computer, just so you can flip between
it sort of does what it says on the tin, really. So the direct is just to get your direct level in. So particularly percussive instruments or vocals, perhaps, you can just hear what's coming in. It kind of bypasses the whole circuitry. Yeah. And if you flick it over more to the computer, you'll get more of what's coming from.
So you can get a blend for real time. And I noticed the metering changes as well. That's kind of
interesting. It does, yes. Yeah, that's relative to that.
Okay, so I guess we should probably talk to Jerome about some more technical aspects. Yes. I mean, these are coming out now, available now.
They're available now. All 3 colours are shipping right now. They're in stores, and we hope people will enjoy it. We've put a lot of work into this. Like I say, we tried to make the best possible sounding audio interface we could. That's why it took longer. But we're getting the results that we're really happy with, and we hope that the pro engineers out there will like it.
I would like to point out also that it's really nicely built. This is kind of aluminium. You pop this on, it's got that really satisfying sort of, you could just pop the case on, and it's got you've obviously put some time and effort into the design of the case, and this, I guess is this aluminium or?
It is aluminium, yeah. Right. So we've got it made from aluminium because there's a lot in there, and if powered up, it can get a little bit warm. So the aluminium nicely disperses the heat if it does get a little bit warm to the touch. But yeah, the lid, it's not just cosmetic, it actually serves a purpose. So if you've got children or a cat in your studio at the end of the day, you just put the lid on. To transport it, it's really useful, so it doesn't take any knocks. But we've also had people report back from some countries where it's very dusty to say, thank you for putting a lid. At the end of my session, I put the lid on just to keep the dust away. And the other neat little thing about this is if you've got your controller keyboard, you can just use that lid just to raise it slightly.
Right, okay.
And it kind of looks neat.
Okay, well, Brian, thank you very much. We're going to get Jerome up here and sort of talk a little bit more about the technical aspect, okay?
Perfect.
Cheers, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got Jerome here. He's magically appeared, came all the way from Arturia HQ in Grenoble, where he's one of the engineers who's been working on the second phase, the post-announcement and getting it to market. So there's some impressive facts and figures with the AudioFuse. I did notice does each unit comes with its own kind of little measurement
certificate, you're right. So in the production, at the end of the production line, so we test all the AudioFuse one by one. And at the end, we print the certificate and to show to the customers how his interface going.
Right, so it's individually measured. So these are kind of impressive figures, aren't they? So, yeah. Have you designed your own mic preamps? And have you kind of got that level of control, or brought them in, or?
So basically, if we go through all the input and output you have in the AudioFuse, the input, you have two types of preamps. For example, so let's put that way. So you have, for example, the input one, you have mic, line, or instrument level. If you plug an XLR cable, you turn the input to mic.
Right.
So the mic preamps is activated. So the mic preamps, it's made by discrete components, so we design it
right from the ground up, right?
From the ground, yeah, you're right. On the line preamps is another type of preamps. Why we choose to make two preamps is because we wanted two different gain for the input. One higher for big input, and another one with less
right, so you're having them discrete. So can you plug a line level, because quite often, in a situation you might get given an XLR to plug in, which could be a line output from a mixer or something. Will the mic inputs accept that level of gain as well?
Yeah, like the mic input gain, it's from 0 to 75 dB. So if you have the pad on, you have around 0 dB, so no gain at all.
So that would accept a +4 unless it's really hot, right?
Yeah, so that's more or less line input.
Right. So we've also got the AudioFuse Advanced Audio Interface software app here as well, which gives us kind of access to all the individual features. Most of these are available via the front panel, right? But there are some other features.
Yes, so the main feature for direct live performance are on the hardware, but you can have access to other control in the AFCC, we call it, AudioFuse Control Center. And you have, for example, what Brian told us before, the reamp function. So, for example, you want to record a guitar.
Yeah.
You plug the guitar in an input. Of course, the
switch it to instrument level, right?
Yeah, so you record it, and then you want to send it to an amplifier.
Yeah.
So you can turn the speaker B into high impedance level.
Right, so it matches the level properly so that it'll work straight to the front panel of an amp without having to pad it down anymore.
Exactly, so the output adapts his impedance for the amplifier.
Right, okay. And that's on a single channel, but that's something that's kind of specifically useful.
Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of, because I know that people often say, there are basically only 2 or 3 different kinds of A to Ds and D to As. Presumably you're using an off-the-shelf D to A and A to D in the unit. What are you using?
Yeah, so we are using AKM converters. So that's good converters. They have 120 signal under noise ratio. So that's really good converters.
Right.
And we build our preamps to have the best capabilities in between.
All right. So you built the preamps to match the
to match
the A to
perfectly
Ds, right?
the ADC and the DAC converters.
Right. Okay. And I noticed that. So we've got a few configuration possibilities with the digital I/O as well. What can you just take us through that?
Yes. So in the so if I can take this one, you have SPDIF and ADAT digital input and output. You can in IFCC change the setting of the input and output. The coaxial input output can be also word clock.
So you can just use it for clocking.
Exactly. Right. If you want to synchronize device. So you can just change. For example, you have SPDIF digital output in coaxial or optical, doesn't matter here. And in digital in, you want ADAT optical. So if you just set this setting, the FCC will reboot. So we can see here, for example, hop. So the FCC will reboot.
Right, so now it's loaded into, it's using the ADAT connection rather than the word. Right, okay, so they're not available simultaneously, but you can address them separately via input or output. Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and you saw the audio didn't stop. So, like the audio stopped when you change.
Right, okay,
but,
yeah.
So you keep the same configuration as before, except you have ADAT in input now.
So the other thing, I mean, obviously when we're using that number of inputs, we've got up to 14 inputs coming in. Can you use this almost like a mixer as well? So routes at those at various different levels and then maybe route them out to one of the speaker outputs or one of the other outputs and remember that state for standalone. Is that possible?
Actually, so if you plug the device in, it's an USB device.
Right.
So if you use the device as to record something,
yeah.
You can have the 14th channel. If you use ADAT in SPDIF, you have only 8 channels because ADAT is up to 8 channels. So, so you record the 14 channels, and then you can mix in your computer.
Right.
Inside the AudioFuse, you can direct the sound, route the sound to 3 different channels, internal virtual channels.
All right, so main mix and I guess the Q mixes.
The Q mixes, so Q1, Q2. And then you can send this virtual mix to output.
So I mean, I guess if I was working live and I didn't want to use a computer, I could but I had maybe a little ADAT box and I plugged all my synths in and I had a vocal mic coming into one of these and had the levels all set.
Yeah.
I could send a stereo mix out to a PA or whatever, and it would remember that when I switched it back on again. It saves
exactly.
that state.
It saves the states. Exactly. So you just modify, for example, you want the input 1 and input 2 to the Q1, but not in the main. So now we are listening sound from the computer to the main, but like the sound which are coming from the input 1 and 2 are sending to the Q1. So you can choose, for example, the phone 1 to be the Q1 listener.
Right, okay.
Then you listen here to the input level, and the speaker are listening to the main.
I see, okay.
You can mix your audio inside the interface.
And is it possible to adjust the levels of the sort of ADAT inputs via the front panel, or does that all have to be done via the software only?
So there is 2 aspects of this. There is a USB aspect. If you capture the sound, we don't modify it.
Right.
So it's directly after the ADC or the digital.
Okay.
So it's arrive in your computer without any effect. But if you want to use this interface as a direct sound So you choose, turn the knob here to direct, for example, or if you are in the middle, it's also the computer and the direct. You can choose whatever you want. And you can choose, for example, the ADAT 1 to be muted, the ADAT 3 to be better on the right, etc.
Is that only you, but can you only adjust that from the software, or can you adjust that from the front panel?
So this typical setting are only on the AFCC.
But you could set that up to be, however you want, and then take it on the road with you, or take it out for a gig or whatever. Okay.
Exactly.
So we're running this on bus power at the moment, but it's also got an actual DC power input as well. Is it? They're different power modes.
Yeah. So there is 4 power modes. One which is full power mode. We call it auto mode. So you can set it in the AFCC. So you click on the A, and in preferences you have the power mode here. So you can choose whatever you want. There is 4 power modes. So the auto power mode choose whatever you plug DC power or USB power, which mode. So if you plug USB power, it turns on green mode. If it's DC power, it turns on full power mode. So you have a really high output on input level.
Right, so you get more gain.
You get more gain.
Okay.
And you have 2 other power modes, which can be really useful if you want to save battery in your
right, if you're running it just from a computer and we were in a battery environment, right?
Because it's more or less 10 or 15 watts. Right. So that maybe doesn't mean something for a lot of people, but
that's pulling quite a lot of power.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, because the AKM converters and preamps consume a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So if you want to save your battery life, you can turn the AudioFuse to another power mode. For example, mix down, deactivate your input, so you can listen to your music without
you don't have to drive the
record.
So you're not driving the input preamps and ATDs and what have you.
If you doesn't want to record something, if you want to, there is also the 4th one. It's the output with a green, so you have also 6 dBu less on the output.
Right. So it's just depending on how you want to have it, you can run it in a lower power mode.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Right. I've got you. So what about phantom power? Will it run phantom power in all those modes?
Yes, except in the mix down, because you don't have input.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so the 2 mode which allowed input audio, you can turn the phantom power 48 volt without any problems. So you can have
you run a couple of condenser mics into it if you want, like a stereo pair. The other question was, so we've got the phono inputs. Can they be switched? Because obviously in turntable mode, there's a different gain structure. Can you switch that out and just use them as kind of consumer level line inputs as well?
No, there is only one input. We don't have gain on the phono input.
Right, okay.
But the phono input, it's always a really huge gain, because the voltage, the audio transmission for phono, it's always really low.
Right.
So about minus 20 dBu.
All right, but I could plug my my DJ mixer into there from phono outputs, or a turntable. Have I got the choice, or is it just?
Yeah, you have the choice. Yes.
Okay, right. So it's got quite a wide range on it. Okay. Okay, so one thing obviously people will not know about is latency. I mean, I understand that's obviously down to the system and how many resources you kind of devote to the driver, but what sort of numbers are we getting?
The latency inside the device is really low, actually. You have about 1 to 500 microseconds inside the device.
From input to output.
So that's nothing. When you go through your computer, if you are on Windows, you can have about 5.4 milliseconds.
Right.
If you are on Mac, you can go down to 4. Something millisecond, and when you are on Linux, because Linux have a really some version of Linux are really good for real-time audio or video, for example, things. So you have down to 2.7 milliseconds. So that's really good for real-time.
Right, it's a good case for experimenting with the Linux OS as well.
Yes, yes, of course.
So I also noticed there's this A button here. Is that for power?
It will, but no, it's not. We will add that in a future upgrade of the firmware. But now we use this button to launch the AFCC.
Oh, right, so pressing that brings this piece of software up on the host computer.
Exactly, yes.
And also, I think Brian mentioned about Linux as well. So is this actually going to, will there be a control panel for Linux and drivers for Linux?
For now, it's not. Also, this AFCC works on Mac and also Windows open system, but it will work on Linux. We work on it.
Oh, so there's going to be a Linux version of this as well?
There will be.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So are there any other facts and figures? Because, I mean, obviously there's the detail, the more scientific details of the specification, signal to noise ratio, that kind of stuff. Have you got any of those you could just give us?
So basically, like we talk about the signal to noise ratio for the AKM, which was about 120. For the input, you have about 116 dB of dynamic.
Right.
And for the output, it's about 119 if you use with the DC powered.
And how have you managed to achieve these kind of great figures? Because obviously, you've got things like jitter as well, the clock jitter. I mean, that's another big deal as well. You want to get it absolutely rock solid. I mean, it's a small unit, so how have you managed to do all of that?
Yes, so we have a really good oscillator clock, the clock generator inside. We managed to have a really low jitter. Lower is the jitter, lower the distortion when you convert the audio with, for example, the AKM. The distortion is low.
Right, so you get a much cleaner signal.
Yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of budget, certainly budget USB interfaces or audio interfaces, they introduce kind of pleasing EQ curves on the outputs just to sort of make it sound more flattering. So you're just going for a flat as a pancake as possible. Right?
Yeah, I think that was the aim of our preamps, is to be as flat as possible and then to add effect or colors after, but not inside the interface.
Right. Excellent. Well, Jerome, thank you very much for coming in and telling us about AudioFuse. So it's available now. Brian, how much does it cost?
It's $599, 500 Great British pounds.
So $599, 500 Great British pounds. Euros will be somewhere in between those two numbers. We'll probably scroll that below. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.